very special treat for you. This is a unexpected live stream, but since we have the right people here tonight with me, we have Dennis, D. Momolani. You remember her before? She was involved with the stories at the haunted military base, and over here is good old Colleen, my one of my assistants in the paranormal. We were sitting over here talking, and we started getting into this whole thing about fireballs because Hawaii is known for fireballs. So we're going to be sharing several stories about fireballs here, and we're going to start right now. As a matter of fact, I would like to start with Dee Momolani. She told me a very interesting story about fireballs. They're called akualele, and they are messengers of the spirits, otherwise known as the flying god or flying spirits. They are messengers. So we're going to be sharing stories about these fireballs that manifest. You can see them also up at Nu'uanu when you go past up Pali Highway. If you pass the old pagoda, people have seen them at night. They're also known as hinotami, I believe. These are fireballs in the Japanese belief system. But since we had the right group of people, we're going to be sharing a few stories with you here tonight. And look at this. I have like a little light here to create an ambiance feeling. D, it's so good to see you. It's a pleasure having you back on Ghosts of Hawaii. I'm so glad that we were able to get together tonight. You said that you had an encounter, but this encounter was at Kukui Gardens, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what happened? Can you tell us what happened?
Sure. So the year was 1980, 1981 to be exact, one of those years.
Yeah.
And in the
Let's pause it. Let's let this. This is not an Akualele. This is an airplane, but it's loud. We're near the airport, guys. So hold on a second, D. Let's let this airplane go by. Okay, go on. Continue.
so the year was either 1980 or 1981, and we were living at the edge of Kalihi Palama here on this island in the property of Kukui Gardens, right outside of Chinatown. And my dad, who was our neighborhood watch, he was outside and he caught us all, me, my mom, my older sister, my older brother, and my younger brother, to come to the glass sliding door and look. So we were in the parlor or the living room, and we went to the glass sliding door. We looked, he said, look up, and right there, you couldn't even miss it. It was like a huge flame. It was flaming, it was like a fireball. And it was like fiery, and it had a long tail, and it looked so low in our sky. It wasn't like way up high in the sky, it was low, and it was that huge, and it was flying across so slowly across of our apartment.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad called up his mother, who actually lives in Kalihi Valley at the time, but she was out in Kona because my grandparents owned a store in Kona. So he called up his mother, and she said, "Oh, that's not good." She says, does it look like it's landing?" And we told her, "No, Tutu, it's not." And she says, "Well, then the fireball is not intended for you." She didn't call it the fireball. She meant the akualele. It's not intended for you all, which is good. She goes, "It's intended for someone else." And she says, "That is not good news because that means death or a curse." So she says she'll pray for us after that. You know, she'll pray Hawaiian and she'll pray in Christian. And anyways, the interesting thing was when I shared it on Facebook, it was actually on the Hawaiian Hauntings page. I spoke about it it should have been around 2019, 2018, 2019. And a lot of my childhood friends that were members on Hawaiian Hauntings page of Facebook contacted me privately. They said, "Davian, of course we know." Because they all grew up with me in Kukui Gardens. They said they saw it. Two of them saw it. They were both my best friends. Two of them saw it simultaneously when we saw it at night. And then someone else in our Hawaiian Hauntings group page saw it too, around by Diamond Head.
Wow, amazing.
That's
That is really cool. That is really, really, really cool.
well, according from the stuff that I've read about, I think it may have been in reference to Glenn Grant. they said that Akualele also shows up for the royalty, and they come to the home of the person that's going to be passing away, and then they take them to the spirits, the I think it's called pole or poo, yeah, it's called. They take them. It's an escort, is what it is as well. So I have a story that I like to share with all of you. I was given permission about this. This is a really spooky story. For all of you out there that remember the old YLI drive-in, home to the faceless woman in the bathroom. I used to walk by that bathroom at night and get creeped out, okay, because of the pedal bowl that was there. So let me read to you this story that was submitted to me on Facebook as soon as this next plane leaves, because this is all impromptu, and then I will tell you this story that was told to me. This happened it was submitted to me about 8 to 10 years ago, and I will not reveal the source of this story, but I think that it is pretty damn scary, and it may even validate the fact that there are ghosts at the old YLI drive-in, which is no longer there. Matter of fact, it's interesting. Dee is here. Colleen is here. Check this out. We actually remember we went to that Zippy's in YLI, and we were doing the spirit box, and it was answering us. You remember that cemetery there? That, from what I understand, this is what people said, that cemetery went all the way to the old YLI drive-in. So they think that's part of the reason why the old YLI drive-in was haunted. But let me read this story to you. Here we go, guys. I was about 15 years old, and my sister took me with her on a night out with her friends. And of course, we ended up going somewhere other than where we had permission to be. My sister's friends wanted to go to YLI Drive-In to meet some guys, and I was very much against the idea. Being the kid in the car meant I didn't get a vote. Shortly after we got there and everyone was piled in one car, I decided to get out and sit on a blanket. I refused to witness anyone engaging in anything I might be ordered to admit if we got caught later. While watching the movie, I noticed that other than the sound of the speakers blaring, it was extremely quiet. And though it was night and already dark, it seemed to get darker by the minute. For the first time in my life, I could feel that something very strange was about to happen. I became very attuned to my surroundings. I started thinking of all the creepy things that could happen, and out of nowhere, from just above the screen, I noticed a light moving from one side to the other. At first I thought it was a searchlight. As I looked directly at it, it stopped and was still for a moment, and then it started moving slowly in my direction. Then all at once, it sped straight toward me and went right over my head. As it went over, it was white. Then it turned yellow. When it came back, it was red and yellow. Finally, everyone in the car realized something was going on and got out of the car to get a better look. That's when we all saw the koa. Later, when I told my grandmother about it, that's what she called them. It was a group of fireballs, all in a line, hovering over the screen. Only a few other viewers saw them and got out of their cars. The koa were positioned over the screen as if they were waiting for something. Everyone that was outside started to climb back into the cars, including us. Engines were starting all over the place and pulling out as quickly as possible. It wasn't long before the drive-in started to empty out. When we finally got out, we thought that it was over. But from outside, we could see the show that was going on inside. They were shooting in every direction over the drive-in. So we drove a distance away to watch for a while until the activity stopped. About 30 minutes or so. Even with all the excitement on the way home, the car was awkwardly quiet. But in my mind, I was convinced that it all happened because we were somewhere we didn't belong. I've seen fireballs at other times since then. I'll send that to you later. That was sent to me by a person that is following me on Facebook. I believe because I used to share what I know about ghosts at Judd Trail. And we would go down at night into the dark that felt like it was alive. And we would gather around this pohaku, this rock that I know is imbued with spirit in it. And we would sit there and I would share what I knew about spirits. And then I would share this one story. Now, to be fair to you, if you guys want to hear the rest, I mean, the entire story in itself, I'll share it with you guys on Halloween night. But let me give you the gist of what happened. This happened in 1986 or so. I had finished work at Tahitian Lanai, and we were all at my house having kanakapila. We had beer and everything, and we were talking story. From off in the distance, this car comes speeding like devils and demons were chasing this guy. And he got out of the car, and his eyeballs were half of his face, and he was shaking. And I said to him, "Bro, what happened to you?" He said, "My home. You have to come to my home because there is something going on there." I said, "Well, what's going on?" He said, "You have to come with me." So as we got into the car and we left, he told us a story about what was going on at that house. It is involving the night marchers because there is Kauai Nui Marsh out in Kailua, and night marchers would be in the marsh at night, and you could hear the pahu. It was just the drum beats. And so that first night they heard drum beats, and it ended up with night marchers going through their house. And that's when he came to see me. He was terrified. I wasn't even involved with the paranormal at that time. He was just frightened and he didn't know what to do. Long story short, I'm going to give you guys the details around Halloween because this story became very important to Glenn Grant. And he asked me to share it on his radio show. So I did. Long story short, we had left the premises of the place after validating that there were night marchers in the marsh. We left it, but we was popakiki, which in Hawaiian means hard head. So we went to another place to look into the marsh, and we saw the lights. And the lights from a distance went across the marsh, and they turned from a golden color to a bright, angry red. And they were heading towards us, even though we're at an elevated point. So we got into the car, and we left, and we went home, and we were terrified. We think we had gone too far. In Hawaii, they say kapu, which means leave it alone. Do not interact with it. We got back to the house. We were in the process of moving from Kaneohe. So I remember I went into the house, and when I went into the house, I was so scared. I grabbed a bowl of water and tea leaf, and I went to every corner of the house, and I was sprinkling water with the tea leaf, and I was praying that nothing would happen. Right at that time, all the lights in the house started to flash on and off, on and off, on and off. And suddenly there was a knock at the door. You know, to tell you the truth, I don't even know if that was a spirit. I opened the door, and my friend, this big Hawaiian girl, she's scared. She looks like my other friend. She's got big eyes. And I'm like, "What's wrong?" She goes, "Come outside. We got to tell you something." And so I went outside, and they were pointing up into the sky. They were pointing up into the sky, and they were saying, "Look, you see that area right there? There was a fireball right there, a fireball. It was huge, and it came from the direction of Kauai Nui Marsh." And as it came towards the house, it was so big, you could hear the flames crackling from the fireball. They were so terrified that my brother that was on the other side of the car, they jumped over the car, they ran towards the house. What I ended up doing was going into my house, and for some reason, it made sense to me. So I opened my icebox. Even though we were moving, we had some pork. In my yard, we had tea leaf with us. So I went outside, and there was this big rock, and I put the tea leaf on it with the pork. And I said, "We are sorry. We are so sorry for disturbing you. We meant no harm." And as I was saying that, you look up in the sky, and you could see all these clouds coming right over our house, gathering from every direction that you can imagine. It was gathering over our house. But the moment I put the tea leaf down and I put the pork on top of the tea leaf, all of those clouds in the sky started to go away. It was like watching a movie. It was like a special effect. The clouds went in reverse and they left. So, are fireballs real? Are there Hawaiian spirits that continue to let us know if they are there? Akua lele, akua means God. Lele means fireball. The next day when I told my father, God rest his soul, I said, this is what we saw, Dad. He said, that's akua lele. That's the messengers of the spirits. They came to us to let us know that don't come back and don't ever do this again. So when I used to sit in the dark at Judge Trail and I would tell this story, we're all in the dark around this pohaku that is embedded with spirit. And I said to everyone there, that's where Joe Panohu met me when I was helping people understand the paranormal. I said, isn't it something that although we're in Hawaii and there are powerful spirits, even we're here in the dark, they'll let us leave. Because if not, they could block our path out of Judge Trail. They could make our cars not work. They could just trap us there. But because these spirits have aloha inside of them, and that's what makes our spirits special. Because they have aloha, they let us leave. And then that's the story that I would tell everybody. I would tell them that story. The story that Glenn Grant requested me to tell him. I know they're real. I know that they're real. Akua is God. Yeah, and Lele is like, to fly, leap, or jog. It was a long time ago when my dad told me the story. Yeah, to fly. So it's a flying God. It's a flying God is what it is. And places like, let's see, in Kailua, there are several places near the Kauai Nui Marsh that has spirits there. There's this one road that you drive down that is completely pitch black. They do not put lights in there at all. And the reason why they don't put lights in there is because of the wildlife that is there. And people have gotten into accidents and they have died in accidents there at this particular road. I'm not going to reveal the name of this road. For some of you that live here, you probably know what road I'm talking about. But if you go down that road at night, you will see akua lele moving around on the road and in the marsh. And that's the stories that we wanted to share with you in a very impromptu manner. Stories about fireballs, stories about legends that are not legends, and the people that eyewitnessed it, like D. Momolani, and the story that I read to you here this evening along with this. Now, I wanted to end this on a positive note. D. Momolani, one of my favorite guests of all time, will be back. We are going to do one more show from the haunted military housing. And let me tell you, the stories that D. Momolani shared as my guest scared the heck out of me. Really scared me. She's also the one that shared stories about ghosts in Japan. Feel free to go through my library of videos and look up stories that Dee has shared, because Hawaii is indeed a special place. One more story I'm going to tell you over there. We were sitting this way one night, and I did a YouTube live stream about it. We were talking and we saw this huge guy. He was standing by those rubbish cans over there and he was hunched over. And we didn't see him go there. He just appeared over there. And we were really scared because he was there for a while. He didn't move. He didn't talk. He didn't do anything. He was just there. And he was very tall. You see the tree right there? You could actually tell his height based upon that tree. At one point while we were talking, hey, who is this guy? Because we see him there for a long time. We were only talking for a couple of minutes. We turn around and we look and he's gone. He is so huge, there's no way he could have walked away without us seeing him. Now that could be what in the Filipino belief system is called a kapre. A kapre is a huge huge spirit that will visit people from the Philippines. I even have a story about that. Eyewitnesses on School Street. So even this place is imbued with ghosts. I hope you like these stories. And it sounds like a Hawaiian Airlines commercial. 1 second, and then we'll wrap this up. Thank you all for watching, because Dee is a fantastic storyteller. I'm so glad I had her here as a guest tonight. Look forward to her interview in about a month or two. And with that said, everybody, with me getting chicken skin, with me being spooked out of my mind by what she said and what the story was that I read and what I told you, I will bid you all a very good night. Ghosts of Hawaii, your home for a dose of ghosts. And sometimes, just sometimes, someone standing in the dark. Until next time, have a good evening. Sleep well. Aloha.